At Humoriso, we're not just another HR consultancy. We're a team of dedicated experts wanting to bring your business forward. Our Humoriso Technology Solutions, HTS, are a different kind of HR tech. Give real-time insights without overwhelming managers with too much data. So whether you're a growing startup, an established company, our human resources, outsource support, payroll management are all there to help drive your business forward. So check us out and see what Humoriso could do for you today.
They cut the beat.
What's up, gang?
Cut the beat. What's up, Danielle?
I love that song. The songs
great.
on this platform, man, they're great.
I just want to get my
we're gonna
banjo
have
out.
a special song later today.
Oh,
Ryan, you would be in like a 3-piece like band.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a 3-piece suit, and I was like, yeah, I got one of those too. But like,
the sweater is giving today, Brian.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad because I need the sweater. I'm not as swole as Joel Swole Lalgy, as you called him in the pre-search.
Swole Joel. Well, look, Swole Joel says good morning and welcome to the HR Morning Show. Your number one spot for everything HR. I'm delighted to be joined with Danielle here, or joined by, not joined with, but joined by Danielle and Mr. Fink, Mr. Brian Fink. As a reminder, guys, we're part of the Purple Acorn Network, and you can go to purpleacornnetwork.com. You can see a whole host of podcasts and shows that we have. Super exciting. And obviously, we're on YouTube. So go to YouTube. We've got a podcast on iTunes. Yeah, just go look us up. And then we hit the 2,000 followers. I mean, I've been off the last couple of weeks, and I saw that we hit it. And now we're at like 2,100 followers. So please stop following us.
We want to get to 6-7.
6-7, yeah.
6-7, that's true.
Well, what is up with you guys, though? I feel like I haven't been here for a while. Brian, when was the last time you were on?
I was supposed to be on like 2 weeks ago when I was in South Georgia, but Adam had to steer the show all by himself. I had a poor Wi-Fi connection because, South Georgia, it's the land that time forgot. And, we're getting with the picture. We're having some fun, had a good Thanksgiving. How was everybody else's Thanksgiving? Danielle, what about you? Where have you been?
Oh, I've been in LA for the past basically 2 weeks.
Where's that?
It's like on the other side of the country.
With the Florida, Florida, Berkshire on the. Sorry, I went to the Californians from Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's like on the other side.
Nice.
Yeah, Valley Girl.
That's fun.
My sister's out there, my mom's out there, so we did all the touristy stuff. We went to the Hollywood sign. It was very fun. We went to the Venice. We did Malibu, which was honestly kind of very, very sad to see, but it was great. What about you, Joel? What'd you do?
I stayed at home with the snow here in Wisconsin. We got hit with a bunch of snow. It's good. I got a snow blower, so that helps. And then just with the kids and the grandparents, it was a fun time. When the kids are little, everything is just kind of fun and making memories. So it was good. And then back to work the next day. Back to work.
Joel, just wait until your oldest starts talking back to you on the regular. That's when real fun begins.
That happened like 3 years ago.
Oh.
No, I got so much to be excited about. But yeah, we're excited. We're excited to be here, and it sounds like we got a December sponsor, Brian. Is that right?
We for the December that you'll remember. Yes, we have a December sponsor. All right, our December sponsor, we're showcasing or being showcased by Talent Tech PR. And I'm really excited that if you've been around the TA world at all, if you've been to an event, you know that the most epic after parties, the most epic pre-parties, the glue that feeds everything and holds everything together is engineered by one person, and it's engineered. Bring it together. That's right. Engineered by. Let us pray. Dear Lord, please let us be unified by Talent Tech PR and the unification that it brings at every glorious HRTA event. Thank you so much. Let's rock and roll. Yeah, so that's what we've got as our sponsor. Amen. Amen. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, so we've got that as our sponsor today, and it's hosted by Evan White. Evan, I first came to know Evan through one of these events that was held at not at the Sphere, but at the spinny wheel that they have in Vegas. The what is that? The high roller? Yeah. So that was pretty epic.
Oh, by the link? Is that by the link? Yes.
It is by the link.
I was at that event. I think it was for Erin, was it not? I think it was.
Yeah, well, it was before the red shoe epidemic started.
Oh, so it might have been before my time. I'm a newbie.
It's all good. It's all good, right? So we've got that. We're ready to rock and roll. Is Alan sending us text messages? Is that what that is?
Yeah. It's you guys praying to me. It's pretty.
Oh.
No, Evan White, complete legend, and we're excited to be sponsored by Talent Tech PR. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome sauce. All right, so
why don't we roll the video though? Come on, Mr. Finn.
Oh my God, yeah, the amazing video. Let's
play
go.
that video.
So
come on, Alan.
The song.
Who lights up a room when he walks in the door? Evan White, with so many strong ideas, he's creative to the core. Evan White, cause he's been at it for 20 whole years with plenty to show for his illustrious career. So if you're looking to grow your brand, then Evan White is here. Cause Talent Tech PR is sure to take you very far. The HR tech space has a fresh face, and it'll make your brand a star. Spinning straw into gold and taking flight, you'll be soaring through the sky at incredible heights with Talent Tech PR from Evan White.
Hey everybody, that was Evan White, and that was an epic song that was put together by his team that supports the HR tech market. With Tech Talent PR, you know that your message is going to resonate, that your message is going to be as tall and as stand-up-ish as my hair, supported by Evan White and his efforts to bring great messaging, great buy-in, and great experiences for the entire tech community, for the entire HR tech community. We're excited. Thank you, Evan, for your sponsorship. And let's all go next level with the team at Talent Tech PR.
To that video, that was definitely sang
That was a
by
banger.
AI. That was sang by AI. It was AI.
It was sang by AI?
Evan saying zero AI was used on that, but I don't know. It was AI.
It was pretty dandy. It was pretty cool.
It was great.
I think it might be my new wake up song. I always play a song when I wake up to like help me wake up in the morning. Yeah.
That's going to be your song. That's good.
Pump Me Up. That song is a banger. That's up there.
I don't know why, but I'm going to continue to wake up to Edge of Glory by Lady Gaga. I don't know why. I'm just putting it out there, right?
Oh,
Lady Gaga, if you want to sponsor the show, Edge of Glory, this is where you're at. Let's go.
Yeah,
no, that's good.
Sure. We're on her radar now.
Well, let's go. Well, Danielle, what do we have on the news? What's the headline today?
All right, headline. So today we are diving into one of the biggest shifts happening in hiring right now, which is the fact that AI is finally getting regulated. Woo, yay. States are rolling out their own rules, which means the federal government is basically sending us a little bit of some mixed messaging, and HR teams are scrambling to find out what that means for their companies. But basically, there's a lot of chaos in the industry right now. Obviously, candidates are getting caught in a bit of the AI slop, and also on the company side. But that's why I'm excited about all our guests today, because they're going to help us break down this story further. But yeah, this is the future of recruiting is being shaped before our very eyes. So
the future of recruiting, look, Danielle, the future of recruiting has always been faced with consumer protection, deep fakes, and government use of technology, right? I mean, when I say government use of technology, I'm talking explicitly about some of the EOC rules that existed in the past under previous administrations. This administration rules what rules. You've also got different states and localities that are really dialing down into how things get adopted. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but the 38 states in 2025 alone have passed laws to prevent deep fakes and consumer protectionism across the board. And now we have missignaling from the federal government that goes against Colorado, Utah's, and California's laws that require people to discern or to share when they're using generative AIs to publicly train or to. It's a mess. It's a mess.
I think usually these sort of changes often favor the candidate, which I'm excited for. Similar to the pay transparency law that was passed in New York a couple of years ago, I think this will only make it better for candidates from a transparency standpoint. But I'm interested to see if this really changes the habits of companies. It might be better from a transparency angle, but it might not prevent them from using AI or these types of tools. It might just become more normalized.
Well, I want to know, what are we doing, like when people do video interviews and they interact with an AI, as we've seen, as we've had on the broadcast, we've had on those presentations. I want to know how this is going to affect performance management based upon, well, you said this in the record previously and our AI discerned this about you. How do you think that's going to affect performance management?
What do you mean by that?
Well, like if I said something in an interview, if an AI said to me, where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Yeah.
And I said, well, AI, I see myself becoming a manager of managers. I see myself running projects, whatever. Could they rewind the tape, so to speak, to understand when we hit that 36-month goal or 36-month timeline that we were full of shit proverbially, and that we didn't measure up to that, and that could be used as a claim for termination purposes, that we misrepresented ourselves in the interview process?
I mean, I mean, that isn't where my mind goes to, but I guess it could be, because I feel like people have been lying in interviews for years, right?
That's like going to Costco.
I think what I remember, I think it was at ERE event. Kyle Lagunas was doing a presentation. He was talking about the adoption of AI, and he said that in Europe, like, the adoption's higher, even though they've got more regulations, or like there's less fear around it. So I don't know. I think some of some of this regulation, I think it will be helpful for companies, because I think it will help kind of lead the direction of like where they go. I still talk to a lot of people who are, they're fearful, right? They don't know what the regulations are going to be, so then they don't want to try things, and then they get that sense of feeling behind. So I think the challenge here is, like you guys pointed out, where it's like you've got different state regulations compared to what the federal government's doing. They got to get some sort of kind of they got to get in line with each other, in order for that to happen. But I don't know. I think having some regulations in there and having some clarity on that will be helpful, because honestly, like, the amount of talk over the last 2 years around AI, it's like after a while you just get fatigued with it, and you're like, all right, let's just let's figure out like what's gonna work, what are the rules here, how are we gonna do it, and then for recruiters who are handling lots of recs and lots of applicants, that's the real struggle, right? It's like people are just burned out right now, and I think the amount of I think no regulation and people pontificating about it all day, I don't think that's helpful for any of us. I feel like the last 2 years has been stressful. Everybody feels behind. And I think in one talk I heard recently, someone was like, well, what are we even behind of? Like, what are we actually behind of? Because everybody feels like they're behind. What is it that we're actually behind? No, you get what I'm saying? Right. So
100.
So it'd be nice. I think, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think again, like Kyle said, with Europe, they've got the regulations there, and they actually seem to be moving a little bit further ahead in terms of adoption because they got those guardrails in place, which would kind of make sense,
Right.
right?
Right. Whereas right now we're kind of in the wild, wild west. Like everyone's creating their own guardrails. They're all creating kind of their own values as it comes, as AI enters the picture. I think what this will do will also give us another data point from I'd say a candidate perspective to evaluate companies. How closely are they sticking to their own state guidelines? Because with the pay transparency laws that were passed, and that's kind of the most similar federal or state change that I can think of that's close to this, you can tell when a company doesn't put their pay in a job description. You could see it. Are they complying with the law? That's another pain point. That's another data point that I now evaluate companies by, and I know many people do as well. Even when I'm just like browsing the job boards to just see, oh, like I'm curious what this company does and if they comply with the transparency laws. So I think that's another point. I think people will start to evaluate companies by their use of AI in their interview process and be a little bit more critical, especially as we hopefully move into more of a employee-driven market, a candidate-driven market in the future, whenever that happens.
Don't listen to the Diary of a CEO podcast then, because that's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Who's
Hopefully
next?
the
One question
pendulum
for our next guest.
Yeah. Let's get an expert in. All in for AI with Lynn Bailey from Smart Recruiters. Lynn, good to see you.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Loud and
clear. I'm in there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How are you doing? How's this kind of fourth quarter playing out? Is it good to kind of be back home for a little bit?
I've been home for a few days. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I keep thinking I'm gonna have a pause. I don't. I'm looking at January and it's back on the road again, but that's okay. We got some cool stuff coming up. I got to spend last week in London, which was lovely.
Amazing.
It was rainy and pure London weather, but all of the Christmas lights were up, and it has a very cool feel to it around this time of the year. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a huge fan of London. Well, I'm curious to get, like, we were just talking about the AI regulations coming in 2026, right? I'm curious just to even start there with like your thoughts on that, and then obviously we can get into our conversation. But what is your thought with the different state regulations, and then having different federal regulations, and like is that going to help? Where do you kind of see this going, even in contrast to like what the EU is doing?
Yeah, so I think there's two sides to this story. So the first side is where I get concerned, which is when we have so many different regulations,
Yeah.
it's difficult for companies to know which ones they need to be aligning to, right? And where they should be focusing. So as a default, what most smart companies would do, I mean, this is what I assume most people are doing, is they figure out what is the most stringent one, and just align there, right? So even when other people are trying to put flexibility into it, they're not going to, because it's too risky, right?
Yep.
To apply in that space. Now, the flip side of this coin is, based on this research that we did with Kyle on AI maturity, which really helped us understand, was really about AI momentum. What we realized was those companies who are actually focused on governance and regulation, and those countries where they have governance and regulations, even if it feels tighter and stricter and more concerning than we maybe possibly would want it, are actually moving forward at a faster pace. And part of the reason is because people know where the guardrails are, and so they're willing to go now and start playing and experimenting. So we're seeing huge strides coming out of the EU, for example, after the EU Act went in place. Companies in that region are really starting to have a higher level of AI momentum. So what I would say is, I don't think we need to be too afraid. I think let's get the regulations in place. I think it gives people a sense of comfort and understanding where the guardrails are. It's going to allow them to move forward. But we also need to all be prepared for this is a moving target. It's going to continue to shift, and we're going to have new elements that are going to come up that we're going to have to now adjust and align to. And I think there are these very structured conversations around things like data, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then there are these more complex conversations around ethics and usage and fairness and all of those components that I think are going to come up as well. So I think this is just the world we live in, guys. We're going to have to be paying close attention to it and then assessing and reevaluating almost on a week by week basis.
Yeah, which I mean, I think when people hear that, even that within itself should just be confirmation of this. I feel like people want there not to be change, or like we kind of don't want more change, but I think it's just the readjustment of that expectation, right? And going, look, we're gonna have to take this head on. Can't be afraid of these things, and
You're
yeah,
going to have to take it head on. And I think it is actually a fundamental shift
yeah,
for how we think about deploying technology in the frame of work. Right. If you think about it, enterprises are a great example of this. One of the reasons they're actually slower than, for example, even mid-market or smaller companies is they have big infrastructures built around things like change management and system controls and data pathing and et cetera. These are not things that turn on a dime as things shift in the AI infrastructure. And that's going to be a challenge. Enterprises are going to have to reevaluate how they deploy and think about tech. Remember the challenges we had not that long ago, wasn't that many years ago, when we first started to introduce SaaS models, right? And suddenly people weren't just getting an update to their system once every other quarter or even once every other year. It was starting to happen on a more regular basis. Now we're starting to see systems need to be upgraded, shifted, changes occurring in them that require administrative analysis, support, and redeployment to the organizations almost on a monthly basis at a minimum. That is not how most enterprises are set up to execute technology today, and it's only going to get faster. That's going to be where the breaking point is, I think.
yeah. It makes a ton of sense. So walk us through. European Commission, they just opened an investigation around
Yeah.
antitrust into Google. Apparently, they're using data with kind of unfairly, right? And it's kind of benefiting.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, here's what we're seeing, right? The first kind of major lawsuit from the EU coming around a formal antitrust investigation into Google, where they're basically using Gemini, and they're training Gemini based on open source data, which is often publishers and creators data that's sitting out there on the internet. And publishers and creators, we knew this was going to start to come up, are raising their hands and saying, wait a minute, that's my IP, right? You're just leveraging it to train your models on. So that in and of itself is a big ethical question. What is free range? What isn't? It reminds me of those conversations we had. Remember Napster? Am I like Asian myself too much?
yeah. Napster. I remember all like
Right, and we
Kazaa.
were
Remember
starting to have those
Kazaa?
early conversations about can you pirate music off of Napster? Is that stealing? What does that feel like, right? And then all of a sudden, and that's how we kind of evolved. But here's the thing: we evolved, and that's how we got things like Spotify and
Yeah,
those things came into play. I think this will happen as well. There'll be an evolution. The reason I think this is particular interesting, though, is that it's actually coming at the same time that the World Economic Forum publicly came out in this last few days and this week saying, "Listen, we've got a problem." That the data that we are leveraging to train our models on, we have tapped the well. We have hit all of the known data in the world, and
wow.
we are now at a point where we're going to have to leverage synthetic data in order to train AI. So here we've got this. Basically, what this is pointing to us is we said data is the gold, right? We've
Yeah,
been saying it forever. We've now hit the critical point, the inflection point, where that is now becoming a huge challenge in this AI race. So synthetic data has a whole bunch of great moments to it, right? What that means is it means AI is leveraging the data it already has to create new data to train itself on,
wow. It's like
right?
that seems I don't know, just know like how does that even work, and how?
Again,
to
that
me,
goes
like
past
that.
my technical capabilities there. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, it's like, how do you guardrail against like the hallucinations and just bad data? And
Right.
like,
It's a very, I mean, listen, it opens up a whole new space, or a new kind of zone of angst that we're going to have. Listen, it's not new. Companies have been using synthetic data to train models, just not at the scale we're getting ready to do it.
mhm.
I think in this current space where we now have questions about which data is legitimate, that is the root data that's in there, for example, creator data, publisher data, that gets pulled out. What do we do with that? And then we've got this kind of synthetic conversation coming on top of it. The question around amplification of which messages inside your core data set do you then build new synthetic data on and then
Yeah.
amplify? Does that amplify certain messages in the market? um what does that do around bias? Does it base, and it does, right? We need to understand that what it does is, unless we are really solid about examining the data sources that we are leveraging, whether they are real or synthetic, it will create challenges for us in what that data does, right? It's not, AI doesn't make new things smart. It just makes what we currently do faster and more, and happen at a greater scale. And so if we've got bias in our systems, if we've got inaccurate data in our systems, all of those things will only get amplified through this process. So
Mm.
interesting. I don't know if there's smarter people than me are going to have to solve this problem.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, this that even just hearing that, it just kind of shows you how powerful though AI is, that it's run through all the data that's out there. I mean, that just seems insane. But so then
All
that
the
took
knowledge in the world.
all the knowledge ever. Uh, it's which is yeah, it's kind of mind boggling with itself.
Mhm.
So that's going to create an issue though for like who owns the human data, who gets paid for it. So
Yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, it's you're kind of going back to that initial point. How
they
much is
see
this?
they're
Is
deeply connected. Right. So
Yeah,
now that we now know how important and how valuable that data is, because there's not an
finite.
infinite source of it, there's a
Yeah.
finite source of it. Who and then that data, how much of that is unique or original thought or creation by humans, and then um
Interesting, that one.
how do we give them their due for that? I mean, think about it. I'll put it this way, Joe. Think about it. You're a creator. You create content on a constant basis out there. um, how do you feel about the fact that that content is basically open source, right? And it is being leveraged and utilized to train models, to train. We know it's being used to train algorithms. We think that feels okay to us. It trains the TikTok algorithm. We all complain about the LinkedIn algorithm. I can go off on that, like, for the next
You're
50
killing it
years.
though on the LinkedIn algorithm.
Hmm?
I said you're killing it on the LinkedIn algorithm though right now.
For a moment. But as I was saying, it makes right. It's so random. It's so
I
random.
I think with this, like, look, there's nothing new under the sun. I think this is what's interesting is like when I look at, like when I look at somebody who's like an inspiration these days, they're saying the same thing as the inspirational thought leaders back in the day. It's,
Right.
like when you think about motivation and
Hmm.
these like truths, it's like there isn't really that much new, right? Like I read a book recently, it was a few years ago, called The Compound Effect. And it was the way that the author had compiled it and kind of written it in a kind of a different style. But the idea of it was just like the more you do something, it compounds. And that's just a universal law that's been around for thousands of years. So even with as a content creator, there's no content creator out there right now that's creating something that no one has ever heard. I think where the value of a creation or creator comes in is like the style and like the way it's delivered.
Hmm.
But even that is up for threat right now, right? I mean, I've seen Sora, I've seen these like video apps, I've seen a lot more of these like AI content creators. Um, so I don't know. It's like that's something I think about a lot about. I know I'm at a point in my content creation journey where I repeat, I kind of say a lot of the same things, but it's because it's like there isn't much more to say. After
It's
3
right.
years of creating job search content, there's not
You're
much
like, dude,
more.
this is how you do it. Yeah.
So, so that is where my mind goes with this, where it's like we have if all the data, it's like, is there gonna be something monumentally new that comes up that we haven't found? I don't know. What are your thoughts with that?
Possibly. I mean, listen, okay, listen, I would like to believe in our, in our human intelligence and our human experience, we evolve, and that we are going to take all this information that's coming into us. AI is really just kind of functioning the way we all function, right? You take it, you're right. You don't, it's not new information. You're gathering information from the world around you, right? You're getting it through content creators like ourselves, you're getting it through other locations, you're synthesizing in your brain, you're applying it through your own filter of experience, and out of that comes something. It
Something
can
new.
be
Yeah.
a new idea, a new thought, a new aha. But those are rare, guys. Those new like moments of like, oh, epiphany,
Yeah.
are really rare. I don't know how many times I do this all the time. This is one of the ways I use AI is I test out whether my idea is new or not. Have you ever tried this? Where you like
No.
think you have like this brilliant thought or idea, and you plop it in, and you say, go and find all the other places where something like this is referenced, and then you read it and go, okay, well, fine,
It's like yeah, well,
it's fine.
but funnily, I heard recently that, this is kinda going, to, like, the music industry.
Mhm.
They are not getting a lot of, like, new releases on the music charts, so the charts have just kinda stayed the same, and I think I've been hearing and seeing a lot, like, the more people are using AI, it kind of, like, takes away some of that creativity, but it's this weird paradox, right, where it's like, okay, if we need new ideas from human, then we need to be creative. So it's like this weird paradox of like, okay, maybe the machines actually, it actually needs that human kind of creativity to create something new so it could
Right,
feed it into the system. But
right.
if we're using it all the time and it's eroding that ability to think creatively or think differently, it's weird, it's kind of like a weird paradox, right?
It's a weird paradox. I have to tell you, my personal opinion is that I think we'll adapt. I think we're adapting. We're getting to a space. I think this fear that we're not going to be creative anymore, and we're not going to like have new fresh thought, and because we're going to get lazy. Our thought's going to get lazy. That's
Yeah.
that's the frame, right? We're going to get lazy and disimaginative. I think some people will. I think those are the same people who are probably lazy to begin with anyway, right? They were probably the same people who were, riffing off of somebody else's idea the last time, right? Just now it's easier and faster for them, and so they're more prolific. I think that people who are thinkers, who are interested in pushing an idea further, who have a thought, etc., are going to leverage AI to help them solidify, help them get deeper
Yeah.
into that thought, be able to go further with it. I think it's actually can be something that exponentially grows creativity, but right, it means operating and working with it differently, which not everybody's going to do.
No, 100%. I love that. I think, yeah, it's like how you use it, and I still think, having those moments. I think what one thing I've seen,
Mhm.
even on social, is people taking these, like, time away, right? Time away from technology, and
Mhm.
I think about a lot of the creative books that I've read where it's like people go into, like, a dark room, for example, for, like, an hour, and they, like, kind of just focus on their own thoughts, and a lot of creativity comes from places
Right.
like that. But to your point, like, that's hard work, and I think that gets harder, and so it's just exactly what you said. Like, I think, people who are kind of lazy and just want the easy solution, they're the ones
They're
who are
gonna
gonna feel
they're
that
they're gonna
creativity.
find it, right? Listen, it's not a mystery to us. There was always the guy in the office who took your PowerPoint and just put a new color code on it and shared it as his own. That right? That's not changed. He just has the ability to do it at a broader scale now. He can pull more people's options, but he's the same guy.
Mm,
Um, I think the person who is going to try and now there's differences. I'll tell you, I do it this all the time. Like I said, I'll have a thought, and I want to see what other people thought similar to that, and
I
then I
love that.
use it to springboard my thoughts and ideas. And then I'll reference and leverage all the time. Right? That's no different than I remember that I'm so old. I remember back in the old days when my English teacher would assign me a poem or something. I remember Dante's Inferno. They
Yeah.
gave us that one, right? And the assignment was to go to the library We went to libraries.
What's
Look
that?
through. I know. And then read the poem line by line and ask ourselves questions about what we thought might be happening there, and then use things called this card catalog to go and get insight and reference about that, what we were thinking, look it up, and then compare and contrast.
Wow.
Right? Now, that's not any different than how some of us are using AI today, right? The difference is I don't have to go to a library and look in the card catalog, and right, but the same process of thinking is the same. So I think, it's just going to make us faster. We just have to be a little less afraid and also get the right guardrails in place.
Yeah, I love that. Well, look, I know we're up for time today, but where can people find you? Where can people find the content that you're creating as well? I know you got a couple different channels.
Yeah, I'm all over the place and no place all consistently all at the same time. I have ADHD. People have a consistency problem. It should be very clear. I'm on LinkedIn where I do more long form stuff, and actually lately a little bit more edgy stuff. And TikTok where I hang out and talk about kind of simple tips and cues and 2-minute segments around how to start thinking about AI.
Well, guys, I would encourage you, if you're not following Tylynne, go follow her on LinkedIn, Top Voice on LinkedIn, and then the TikTok channel as well. A lot of value, and like you said, 2 minutes of highly value content, which makes you think in a different way too about AI. So I'm a big fan there. Tylynne, we will. I'll hopefully see you soon before the end of the year, but if not,
I think so that's next Tuesday, and then we're done.
Next
I'm
Tuesday,
out
and then we're
for
done.
the rest of the year.
All
Hawaii
right.
is calling, so.
All right. Well, there you
Okay.
go. Well,
awesome.
We'll talk soon. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
I can't hear you, Brian.
Okay. All right, and we're back, and we have not two, but three excellent guests. And I was really concerned that the third guest was not going to make an appearance, and I'm excited that Churro has made an appearance.
Yes.
Churro doesn't have their own doesn't have their nameplate. Churro, what's going on? How are you? Cam Man's going to see you, and he's going to start talking in a minute. This is Brian and Tylynne. I'm excited to have a conversation with you about all things employer branding and corporate branding and how that plays a unique role in what we're doing as HR and TA advisors. Brian, Tylynne, thanks so much. I am excited that you're here with us on the program, and I'm sorry that my ears and eyes immediately went to Churro. Churro, were you licking your lips at me? I don't have any dog biscuits. I don't have any treaties.
He's always on the hunt for treats. He's learning. He's part of owning a snack empire, is he gets a lot of treats.
Well, I was going to say is that my guy Cam, who's a rescue, you mentioned the word treat, and I'm sure he'll be at the door in just a quick second, knocking to get in, right? But nonetheless, I'm excited to have a conversation with you today and to learn a little bit more about you. As we talk about learning a little bit more about you, where does this conversation find both of you today?
So we come from a background in the advertising industry. Tylynne and I have been creative partners for about 17 years. So branding is definitely something that's very near and dear to our hearts and something that we kind of do in our day-to-day. And recently, in the last, maybe about 4 months ago, we actually launched a new brand, a dog treat brand called Nose of Justice, which is based on this guy here, Churro, his personality. And so we are really excited to be talking to you about this. Ty, do you have anything else to add?
All right. So real quick, let's talk. I want to bring Tylynne into the conversation, and if Churro wants to speak up, Churro, I'm not sidelining you. What was the marketing ploy or the marketing activity that you engaged in to really get the attention of the FDA? Because I think that's a critical part of your story. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping all the way to the end, but I think that's a great catalyst for us to start our conversation.
Okay, so we as you mentioned, we did send a stripper to the FDA in protest.
I didn't say stripper. I didn't say stripper. This is a kid's show. I didn't say stripper.
We did though.
I know. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, we wanted to launch this brand kind of in a way that was different than every other dog treat brand or dog food brand. Most dog food brands have, their packaging is very cute, and they all kind of look very similar and say the same things. So we initially wanted to launch with a very different aesthetic, very different look, and we wanted all of our communications and all of our advertising to be to stand apart and be kind of entertainment first. And some of the things we're talking about are kind of heavy subjects. So finding kind of mysterious meat in dog food, or even dog DNA in dog food, that's not a topic that's light, and it's not something that's well known. So it's kind of, how do we bring something that's kind of heavy like that to pet parents? They should know about it, but how do we bring it to them so it's not kind of depressing or heavy? How do we be an entertainment first brand but talk about such heavy subjects? So that's where the concept came from, with sending man meat to the FDA to get them to not research, but investigate why there is mysterious dog meat in dog food, and mislabeling, and just all the problems. So we basically took a humorous tack at it and tried to get their attention in an entertaining way for dog parents to kind of swallow the bad news with some fun, in some fun ways.
Yeah, and as a brand, we're really out to do right by dogs, and kind of, we say it's Churro's quest for justice. He wants to right the wrongs of the dog world, starting with what's in his treats. And we were really born from kind of seeing this problem in the pet food industry. Like, we're really tired of not knowing what's in our dog's food, and really seeing all these studies that actually more than half of dog foods out there that have been tested, multiple university studies are finding that they're not truthfully labeled, and they have this unlabeled meat in them, which is a big problem. Not just if you like being told the truth, but if your dog has allergies. So we really wanted to do something not only that had a product that we could feel really good about, that was really clean and pure, but that as a brand could actually stand up for dogs and take on the issues of the dog world in entertaining ways.
All right. So as you talk about taking on this quest for justice, right? I think that is a really powerful employer value proposition, or maybe I identify it as an employee value proposition because everything I do is in the TA sphere, right? How do you broach that lack of integrity that other people have, instead of point a finger at them, instead shine a light on what you're doing to differentiate who you are in a really competitive market that's filled with disinformation?
Yeah, so we're all about just clean treats, no weird surprises. We just want to make the type of treats that we would want if we were dogs. And so it's really about differentiating, not by pointing a finger and saying, oh, this brand is doing something wrong. We're trying to shine a light on this whole industry problem and say that this is a conversation that needs to be started in this industry, and that we all kind of need to push for doing better. That's why instead of targeting any one brand or any group of brand, we really kind of sought to bring attention to the FDA, who's the organization that regulates all of this, and say, hey, let's do something about this.
That's great, because that takes a lot of authenticity in that leadership, and that clearly carries a lot of polish and a lot of zest and zeal, right? When you think about what you're doing to drive this message home. About driving this message home, though, it wasn't until the other day that I discovered Churro, you have 6 followers on LinkedIn, but you have a pending request from somebody who has really good hair. Who could that be? I know you're looking up at Brian. right name, wrong Brian, but it's okay. The question is, how are you using social media to get the word out about what you're doing for justice and justice for dogs?
So social media plays a really critical role in what we're doing. I think we try to make all of our content shareable and that people would actually want to share. Partly because we believe that that's the right approach, but also because we don't have a really limited media budget. So what we primarily do Instagram, a little bit of TikTok, and then we've also been playing on Reddit too as a really good community that really likes investigating things. So we have had a lot of good success on Reddit, and then occasionally LinkedIn as well. Kai, do you have anything to add to that?
I do think it's interesting. We did try to launch on Reddit just because we felt the audience on Reddit is kind of, like Brian said, they're into investigation. They like recommendations. People find a lot of things on Reddit based on like trying to find out the truth. So we just thought that audience would be a little more authentic to our brand as well. But it doesn't mean we don't try to operate on TikTok and Instagram, but we felt the Reddit audience was a little more aligned with our values as a brand.
Tylynne, I gotta wonder, right? Like you identified Reddit. You walked me through how you got there. I'm just wondering, to anybody who's creating content out there, how much research goes into making sure that you have the right message in the right place to the right audience?
Well, I think so we have an advertising background and we normally work with like big brands. So there's whole teams that do that for big brands. For us, this is just us two using our advertising experience to launch a brand. So we're not putting a bunch of money into research. We're going more in gut instinct for our personal needs. So I think we took a look at our North Star, which is doing right by dogs, justice for dogs, and big or small, right? So yes, going to the FDA, but also smaller things like fireworks are bother dogs on the 4th of July. Maybe not all dogs like having their parents put them in Halloween costumes on Halloween. Maybe dogs don't like their walks cut short. When Churro's a rescue, sometimes people don't want rescues because maybe they come with problems, but like getting justice for dogs also includes getting out the narrative that all dogs are good dogs, even if they're a rescue. They might not be perfect, but all dogs are good dogs. So my point is, justice comes in all forms for dogs. It's not just the high level, we got to get the FDA to investigate mislabeling and mystery meat. So knowing that we were going after things big and small, when we looked at social media, it's like, that's kind of how looking at our purpose and our North Star, we ended up with Reddit a little bit, but it was all gut instinct, honestly.
All right. I love that. Now, last question is, where did the idea for the man meat stripper come from? Like, I mean, that was bold. I mean, that guy could have gotten, I don't know, do they have guns at the FDA? Do they shoot people? Like, the FDA did not find this humorous. Where did this idea come from? Maybe that's a place to finish up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time kind of discussing how we wanted to launch our brand and how we wanted to do this in a really big and bold way. And we also talked about it through the lens of justice, not just justice, but justice for dogs, dog justice. And that felt like it would be a little bit more fun, a little bit more lighthearted than like just human justice, because dogs don't hold on to things the way that we do. So, the first thing is like, okay, there's this unexpected meat coming in dog food. What if there's dog meat in dog food? What if we sent like human meat to the FDA? But then we're like, no, we can't do that. We're not going to send like actual human meat.
Hannibal the Cannibal, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, like something just kind of clicked and it's like, oh, what if we send man meat? What if we send a stripper? And that just kind of made us giggle and really kind of giddy each time we talked about it. It did require a lot of careful planning to pull off, actually, for how ridiculous the video was, to make sure that nobody got arrested and that we were doing things the right way. For example, we had to make sure that our stripper was on the sidewalk in front of the FDA on public property, so right outside of federal land where he has a right to protest and he's protected by his First Amendment rights. We had to give him like something to say to the security guards when they, inevitably asked him to leave. Because at first, when he first did it, they did threaten to detain him, and so we had him like say his line about like protesting. So this was like we hadn't met with like lawyer friends that we had. We were 99% sure that this was going to be fine and nothing was going to go wrong. But it was a nail biter being there on set. But it was really a fun also.
It was the scariest. It was the scariest shoot we've ever been on in our whole career because there was a variable, right, that we couldn't control. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of variables that you can't control, thank you so much for showing up in a big way and teaching us about the joys of branding and the possibilities that go with it. And Churro, if there's one thing that I have to tell you, one thing that I need to let you know, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? You're a good boy, Churro. Y'all, thank you so much for stopping by the Purple Lake. We look forward to supporting you and your efforts as you seek out justice for our canine friends everywhere we go. Rock on, my friends.
Thank you so much. And you can find if you go on treatdogsright.com/purple acorn, we've set up a little landing page where you guys can get free samples if any of your listeners want that.
That's awesome. I know Cam will love that. Thank you for being part of the show. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Let's move over to Joel and let's rock and roll.
Thanks so much, Brian.
All right, it's Joel, ready to rock and roll. I like that rhyme by Mr. Brian Fink. I am joined here with a friend, amazing host of TA Week that I'm excited to be a part of. But Kara, welcome to the show. For anyone that doesn't know you, why don't you just give us a quick intro, and then for anyone who doesn't know who you are, they can finally know.
Absolutely. Welcome. Well, thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show. Kara Mignanelli, I'm the producer of Talent Acquisition Week. Thank you for the intro. And it's not really about me. It's about the event and all of the people like you who will be on stage making it awesome for our attendees and partners and friends that will be there.
Well, look, I'd love to actually chat a little bit about your role and what you do. So you are SVP of People with is it GSMI?
Yeah, GSMI.
And General Counsel. So tell us about that. Yeah, I'd love to know about what you do there.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a dual role.
Yeah.
I do serve as the event director for Talent Acquisition Week, which is a compilation of events that we've been running for over a decade now. And then, I have an HR role, so SVP of People, and then I get to play lawyer sometimes and live in my old glory days. But counsel is not as exciting as being in a courtroom, but I'll take it.
No, I love that.
It's kind of like a hodgepodge, but really it all comes together, and I really enjoy being in the people space, and it's something that I've been involved in for years in different capacities. Like even before law school, we did. I focused on various events that were involved with the Department of Labor and different organizations in the public sector. And then throughout law school, I was focused primarily on the employee-employer relationship with a specialization in employment law.
So when you got this gig, did you know that you were going to be an event director as well? Like, was it kind of a package deal, or was that kind of added on? Like, how did that happen?
Well, it's a family business. And so I kind of created the entire organization with my husband and a partner. And we've been through the trenches together on, getting through COVID as an event.
Seriously. Yeah.
But that, thank goodness, we were able to pivot and really continue and find value in different forms of communication and education through that period. But yeah, just to answer your question, I kind of just brought, everything that I'm interested in and my skill set, and it's really worked out, and it's a great experience. And I've forged so many wonderful relationships with folks like yourself and other speakers that I've known and seen their journey, whether they started as maybe even actually an attendee and then became a speaker, and they've gone from like organization to company, practitioner side, the other side.
I love that other side. I'm curious. Obviously, in kind of running TA Week for over a decade, obviously you've seen a lot change within talent acquisition. So, would love to know, kind of what things you've seen evolve and change, and on the flip side, like what's kind of remained a constant with both the event and the industry.
Yeah. So I think great question. It's changed quite a bit. And from where we started, it's so silly. When we started this event, we had a different conference that we were running just on social media strategies. And this is, I'm dating myself, but like when this was kind of all new and novel and everyone was trying to figure it out, which is giving me flashbacks, to AI right now. Anyway, we would have TA people like HR directors and whatnot showing up at our marketing conference. Like this was a social media summit for marketers. And they're like, well, we don't have anywhere to go. Like we don't know how to find this information and tailor it for, instead of the customer, the candidate. Yeah. And so that's why we created our social recruiting strategy conference back in the day. And then from there, employer branding really exploded. I'd say like 2015, 2016. And we developed a separate event, really honed in on that. And what I'm seeing now is everything kind of coming back and being a little bit more integrated and less siloed with regard to, internal comms over here, employer branding, recruiting, sourcing. There's a lot more integration and focus on talent strategy and operations. So that's kind of like the biggest shift over the years. And then, for current topics, I think, focusing on skills is something that's kind of come up over the last, several years. It's not brand new, obviously. And then, you can't not talk about AI and how that's transformed things. I remember we had an event, I think it was 2023, and it was like ChatGPT had just, become available to everyone like within days. So it was really great timing. We just had this impromptu session one morning that wasn't even on the agenda for people to come in and to just see it on the big screen, like watch what we can do with this. And
that's cool.
It was really fun and interactive, really neat.
You mentioned obviously during the pandemic, really challenging time, right, for just in-person events. Have you seen kind of a shift just in, I guess, just events or how people gather, like pre-pandemic to post-pandemic? And then I'm also just curious to just hear like some of the feedback that you hear from people, kind of post-pandemic as people have been kind of coming together and that's become more regular. Like what are some of those changes that you've experienced and seen firsthand?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's more of an understanding of the value of human connection and how do we make sure that we have multiple opportunities for that. I do think it's kind of like people have seen the value in it instead of just, oh, it's another conference and here's a networking reception or whatever. Giving them more productive and, encouraging opportunities. For example, we've now done this mentorship program, which is super critical. And I think the idea that you're coming to these events to connect with your community, whether that's people you have met or haven't met, or just know online, and then that's the best. And you see them and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm real life. And
you're real.
You're a real person. Pinch you. But yeah, I think we have this TA ambassadors program now. We've been doing it for a couple of years and kind of working out the kinks, but trying to give people an opportunity that, hey, when you come, make the most of your experience and, just introduce yourself, but also find that person that, you can learn from and discuss things and kind of build new relationships that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I think that's something that, over the past couple of years, going to a lot of in-person events, I've noticed that, almost like that shift where I do feel like people are much more like, hey, I get to be a part of this and I want to be a part, versus like what you said, where maybe there was some fatigue at some point where people like, oh, it's like, it's something I have to go to, or maybe like, it's just part of my job. But definitely seems there's just much more of a desire for real connection. So I'm curious, like from your point of view, what's your number one, or what's some advice, number one piece of advice that you would have for someone to get the most out of an event like TA Week?
It's like that movie that my kids love, Yes Day. I mean, honestly, just do it all. Just go to the pre-conference stuff, stay for everything, don't skip out. Do every lunch, try and block your calendar off. I understand people are trying to juggle things and we get pulled away. We all have commitments, but try and just be present and shut it down and take notes. I mean, we provide all the slides and information you can come back to, but I do think, being engaged, an engaged listener, whether you like to snap photos of slides or whatever, and stick around, talk to the presenter afterwards. Most of our speakers participate as attendees, which is awesome. They go to sessions and then they incorporate those lessons and points in their talks. So it's a very comprehensive experience for the attendee. And yeah, just make the most of your time. I think you can show up or you can show up. And I think that, that would be, you really get the most out of it that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, just being present in those conversations, right? And like really engaging with people. I think the events go by so quick. And if you're like, if you aren't 100% there engaged, like I do think you end up kind of regretting that. And then also like if there's those moments where, all right, I actually need, maybe you need some space just to kind of re-energize, being smart with that as well. Where can people go to attend TA Week? We'll put a link here as well in the chat. I'll have someone in the back production team do that. But where's the best place for people to go sign up? And obviously there's still time to do that. So where can people go?
Yeah, talentacquisitionweek.com. And we have it's in the name. Yeah. We do have a partner code because thank you guys. We've got great relationships out there in the community and the industry. So one code, we have purple, which is great. It's with the background right now. Purple will get you 20% off. But yeah, it's coming up really quickly. So I encourage people to, if they're thinking about it, just pull the trigger. We have a price break next week, so prices will go up after the 18th.
And so you got to get in this week. Get in this week. That's what I'm hearing.
Get it. You got to come to San Diego. We'd love to see you.
I love it. Well, hopefully you guys will make it out there. I'll be there. Was there last year. Had a great time. So much fun. And like you said, just connecting with real people. So use that code PURPLE for 20% off right now. You want to get in before the prices go up. And like Kara said, there's nothing better than San Diego and TA Week. So Kara, where can people connect with you individually as well? Where can people find you? What's the best place for people to connect?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn and hope to connect with you all soon.
Amazing. Well, Kara, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to being in person coming up next year for TA Week. So super excited, and hopefully we'll see everyone in San Diego. So thanks, Kara.
Thanks, Joel.
Hello, Mervyn. Welcome to the HR Morning Show. Or should I say, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It's great to see you again.
You too. We are, if anyone didn't know, we are co-hosts of another Purple Acorn podcast, which is called From X to Z, where we have intergenerational conversations about the future and the now of work. It's really we span the works. It's amazing. I love hosting a podcast with you, Mervyn. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy. It's kind of late afternoon here in London, England, where I am based. And I can't think of anything I would prefer to be doing at the moment other than talking to you about Gen Z.
Too sweet. See, we've now built this rapport. People are getting the new and improved version of me and you, partners in crime. But today I wanted to talk about something that came up because I've been seeing it in the news a lot, and I've also been cleaning out my childhood bedroom for various reasons, and I've been finding a lot of old tech. Now, Merv, I assume that you have some old tech lying around your house. I don't have it with me. I'm sorry to show you, but maybe next time. But I found like an LG flip phone. I found my old BlackBerry that for some reason I thought I needed when I was in 6th grade. I found some old cameras and some old iPhones, and it just kind of brought me back. I was like, wow, this is actually kind of relevant because I've been seeing Gen Zers or people younger like Gen Alpha really going after this old technology, like using cameras all the time. They're all the rage right now, using like old, handheld like gaming things. I don't even know what you call them anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you heard of this trend of like retro tech?
I have, and it won't surprise you to know that it's just it's just history repeating itself. Because if I go back to when I was your age, there was that every few years there's this kind of nostalgia kick. That people who want to sell us stuff, one of the easiest ways to sell stuff is to get a new generation or generation interested in something that a previous generation had, and it becomes a bit like cool. And kind of your parents get involved, or your uncles or your elder brothers. Oh God, I remember when I had one of those, and it's a ploy to sell. It's so. But yes, I am aware of this, and it's sometimes it's a yearning for simpler times, because we all think, when I was using my Game Boy, life was so simple then.
Game Boy, yeah.
Didn't have rent to pay, wasn't saving for a mortgage, didn't have bosses telling me what to do all the time. And so there is nostalgia to it, and nothing sells like nostalgia across every generation. So yeah, I mean, it is a thing. It is a thing, yes.
I mean, it could definitely be a ploy to sell you things. I also think it is a symptom, and it's like there's a deeper rooted problem here, which is that Gen Z is exhausted by their overstimulation that they're being served, whether it be on social media or in the news. And we're really craving boundaries with technology that I don't know. I think there are few solutions on the market. I know there's like this thing called a brick, which I think will lock your phone up in a box for like hours on end and you can't access it. I have an app on my phone that's called Opal. I've talked about this before. Not sponsored, by the way. But the Opal app basically locks me out of specific apps, like social media apps during the day. You can set specific hours for it, which I love. And that'll just keep me off the apps like Instagram, like Snapchat, TikTok, which I don't really use a lot anyways, during the workday. So I'm just not looking at it. Of course, there are workarounds. You can go on Instagram on your computer. But I think I think this is basically a way to protect your mental health, maybe bring some more peace into your life. I think young people are just feeling really overstimulated, anxious, depressed, all the things. And I think there's common fodder amongst older generations of like, well, just get off your phone. And the reality is it can be really hard for people to do that, given we now rely on our phones to tell us where to go, like how to get from point A to point B. It's not that simple or easy. So I think this is more so this is really related to a deeper problem that the young generations are facing.
I would think so, but I think that every generation in a different way has experienced this,
right?
And I think that there is we need the ability not to send ourselves up, but I think not to take things too seriously. I mean, I constantly have a go at friends of mine who think that your generation are like well wedded to your phones, and it's kind of you can't have a conversation with someone from Gen Z because they're on their phone all the time and they're messaging people and stuff. And these are older people who constantly look at their phones all the time. It's like this, and it's like, oh
Yeah,
right,
but
okay.
Mervyn,
There's a traffic jam on the motorway.
Who gave us those phones? Who bought them for us?
They just fell out of the sky, didn't they?
Well, Verizon's giving them away now, but before that happened, I don't know. I feel, and I think it's reality. Like a lot of the time, older generations will say those types of things, like, "Oh, young people are always on their phones," but they forget who gave them to us, and oftentimes, that there were no guardrails, to use the AI terminology. There were no guardrails when social media was born and when we started giving 10-year-olds smartphones. Like it was very much like AI is now. It's the wild wild west, right? Like there were no rules. And now you have, obviously, teen mode on phones or on Instagram or whatever, but kids are savvy enough to get around that stuff, and we've made phones so addictive that, are you surprised that on average young kids spend like 17 hours a day on their phone? Like, you shouldn't be surprised. And that's kind of that's the perspective that I think oftentimes gets overlooked. Like, this is not something you blame young people for. They are, of course, responsible because they're using the phone. They're the one on the phone, but they're also, their brains aren't fully developed. They did not buy this phone, or maybe they did. You're not giving them boundaries around using phones. So that's that's my clap back for you.
It's but it's also, I suppose, being connected. So if I think back to when I was at school, college, something happened to me during the day. I mean, I still lived at home with my parents, obviously. I wasn't telling anybody, like my parents or my brother, or well, I didn't have a brother, a sister, sorry. Until the end of the day. And then I would have to dial up and tell a friend, you won't believe what happened to me today. But now there's none of that, because instantly it happens. You message someone to tell them. And it's kind of there is something more instant about it, and I think that if you lock it away, then there is that, not so much FOMO, but that kind of concern that something important you might be missing out on, and that could be an arrangement. It could be, you're the only person in the world that doesn't know that this thing just happened or something. It's kind of, there is that fear. And I think particularly in the workplace as well, it's, we feel the need to be connected all the time because we might miss out on something. It's like, it's kind of, my wife will often say, what are you doing? And I say, well, I'm just going through LinkedIn. So, why?
It's like low-level anxiety.
Yeah. And I said, well, I just want to see if there's anything interesting. If anybody's posted anything interesting, I might be able to comment on, or I might be able to write about myself. Also, it's kind of, it's this constant belief that there's things happening all the time, and you need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm a big football fan, soccer fan. I'm an NFL fan as well, but obviously a big soccer fan. I go and watch my team play every week. And I mean, when I was younger, I mean, I didn't know until the news was on at night what the football scores were. Now, wherever I am in the world, I expect constantly every minute during the game an update of what's happening.
Right. It could be a good exercise, in disconnecting. I think there's a lot of studies that I've seen about how when your phone goes off and you get a notification, your heart rate goes up. And I think that maybe is not so good for us. So I think that I'm learning a lot. I think this is helping me reflect, right? I think I'm learning a few things. One of them being, it's great to slow down and disconnect. This is one of the reasons why in Jewish culture and tradition, we take the Sabbath. We take a day to rest. We're not supposed to use phones. Everyone kind of has different rules. It's very murky these days. But that's an aspirational goal for me, maybe in the new year, to like start taking Saturdays and Shabbat more seriously, get off my phone, disconnect. And then the second thing I'm learning is, it's when you are going through your stuff in your house, if you ever do that, I think you should, because it's a good exercise. You might find things that are worth a certain amount of money. Because I was looking through a lot of my DVDs or my, old books, like V1 copies of very famous books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Those things could be worth money. So FYI, that's a good thing to do. And also, analog tech is a great way to be like anti, data collection, to get off the grid, to prevent companies from stealing your data or using it to train these AI models. So if that's something that you're considering, that is definitely an angle here. Mervyn, are you going to go find your tech and start using it? What are you learning from this conversation?
What I'm learning from this conversation is that I found it hard to believe that Danielle cuts herself off from tech and what's going on in the world.
I don't, but
I don't know
I
why.
want to. I want to. It's good to disconnect.
I don't. It's interesting because in a way, I don't, and it's I love the constant buzz of information coming to me, whether it's interesting information or not. Yes, I don't like obviously the bragging and slagging, as we call it over here, and all of that, but I just ignore that. I'm old enough now; I can just ignore people, showing off and stuff. It doesn't bother me. But it's kind of it's almost taken over from, I suppose, watching the TV at night. There's more entertainment on the phone,
Right.
kind of thing.
Because we've made it so difficult to get a
Yeah.
show on the TV with all these streaming platforms. It's easier to go on your phone.
Yes, it is. But no, I think that I suppose the work aspect, because as more and more is driven to the tech, then we are effectively not enforcing people, but it's kind of, we are pushing people more and more to have that. And then, of course, you've got the other side, which is where if your phone is got a lot of work stuff on it, as well as private, personal stuff and friends and social stuff, you're seeing work update, you're seeing emails, at 10, 11 o'clock at night that, you don't really need to see till the next day.
We don't always need email.
Yeah, I mean, there is there is the information overload 24/7. Yeah, some information you don't actually need to be aware of at that time, but you are, and then that obviously sets off another trail of thought and things.
Well, Mervyn, it's so nice to see you outside of our usual podcasting time. Where could people find out more about your work?
Well, on LinkedIn, funnily enough, under my name, Mervyn Dinnen.
Wow.
I'm on the social X and Threads and Blue Sky, where I write a twice weekly newsletter called HR Means Business, and I have another podcast called HR Means Business, but obviously from X to Z is my passion. So you can find me at all of those, and it's kind of like, I kind of like live HR and TA. I feel it's all I talk about.
Yes, you do. And Gen Z, apparently.
Other than soccer and NFL.
Yes. Eat, sleep, breathe soccer. Well, you could catch Mervyn and I and more of these conversations on our other show, From X to Z. And it looks like it's time for the weather.
Good morning, beautiful people. So this past weekend, I attended a funeral for a 47-year-old dad, father of a 10-year-old girl who plays soccer with my daughter. And as heartbreaking as the service was, something struck me even harder afterward. The surviving widow was given just 1 week of bereavement leave. So, 1 week to absorb the shock of losing her life partner, to support her daughters, to plan a funeral. Honestly, it made me feel sick. This is not how we support employees. So, right now, most employers offer 3 to 5 paid days, and some offer only unpaid time. It's just not cool for employees or the company, because we know that employees that experience a major loss, like a spouse, are 3 times more likely to experience a burnout. And one of the reasons people quit a job after a tragedy isn't the work, it's feeling unsupported. But I think the weather is shifting. So there is more progressive companies that are starting to expand their bereavement leave, not just for immediate family, but for chosen family, pregnancy loss, and even caregiving responsibilities. It's a recognition that employees aren't machines and life doesn't fit neatly into a policy manual. Grief doesn't go away between Monday and Friday. And as HR leaders, we're the ones who can start this conversation inside our organization. So today's HR weather, cloudy with a chance of humanity, because maybe, just maybe, the next big shift in HR isn't another piece of tech, but simply acknowledging that when someone's world falls apart, the most meaningful benefit we can offer is time. That's the HR weather. Let's get back to the panel.
Wow, what a
Yes.
sad thing about your friend. I'm so sorry for the your loss.
It was extremely heartbreaking being at the service, knowing the mom and knowing the gentleman that passed away, and seeing these two girls, 10 and 13 years old, lose their dad. And right after the funeral, the mom had to go back to work on the Monday after the funeral was on Sunday. This is not right, right? Like, if we think about work and life, and I think the last 3 to 4 years we've realized what is important. We 5 days is a joke. How can we offer 5 days? And I understand the economy, I understand how business works, but I think we have to have some flexibility here. Like, what's your thoughts, like, Danielle? Just thinking
Well,
about that, and looking at Gen Z, looking at every generation, like, we're all in
yeah.
part that we're going to lose family. Like, what's your thoughts here?
I mean, my mind immediately goes to a conversation I had actually with Mervyn yesterday. We were recording the podcast, and we basically talked about this viral post that I saw on LinkedIn. I think it was last week. This woman, had a miscarriage, and her company didn't have a policy for if you have a miscarriage, you
Yeah.
get a specific amount of time off. She logged on Monday, and she didn't tell anyone, and I think she's in TA, so it's specific to our industry. But she struck a chord with a lot of people, because let me tell you, the numbers on how many miscarriages and how common that is for women has gone up drastically over the last 30
Yeah.
years. And more women are, I guess, talking about it, even though it seems to be a little bit taboo still.
Yeah.
And I think she really struck a chord. So I'm excited to see, a little bit of momentum here for what bereavement looks like, and can mean, and what that leave is, and how companies are issuing it. I also think from a Gen Z perspective, pet loss is really big for younger people, because they often get pets as, service animals, like for their anxiety and whatnot. You see a lot of the taking advantage of that on airplanes and for flights. But I promise you, it is a real thing. People have pets for anxiety. So I think that is another part of this that maybe we haven't thought about yet.
Yeah, good point. Brian, what's your take here?
First off, my condolences to you and your family and their friends. I'm emotionally caught up by the fact that if I were to lose somebody that was my life partner, that I would only be given 90 hours to kind of get my together. Like, yeah, I think that there are a lot of problems. We talked about legislation at the top of the show. and we talked about policies around AI. And I think that there should be some type of policy that is hammered out either at the state or federal level about what those things look like. We have historically struggled with what childcare looks like.
Yeah.
But I just sit here and I'm like, if I was working for a company and I was only given 5 days to comfort Maddie about the loss of Allie, I don't know how I would do it. I have no idea. And to Danielle's point about bereavement for a pet, wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Right? Like I think that is non-generational, that we look at our pets as kind of our surrogate children. I look at the Cam Man and I'm like, Cam Man's my little boy, right? So like, I get that. I think that those type of policies also go in line with what senior care looks like.
Yeah.
Because right now, Joel and I've talked about this. Danielle, sorry, I left you out of the conversation, but like, I'm going through a lot of things trying to take care of my mother and father. And I think if I worked for a corporate environment, would I have the ability to dedicate so many hours of my day for senior care towards my parents? So that's kind of where my head goes as well, is that there just needs to be some kind of interference, some kind of there's got to be something. Joel, what's your take on this, bro?
I mean, so many like people and leaders in business, they talk this game around caring about people. They talk this game about joining families. They talk this whole game about bringing people's whole selves to work. And to me, this is just common sense type thing. Like they shouldn't. The fact that this is even a discussion, the fact that, like you said, Brian, someone loses someone that important to them, and you're only given a week. Like I'm not a leader at a business. I don't run a business that has a lot of employees, but I could tell you right now, if I did, I would have that person. I'd send flowers, and I would say, hey, you take as much time as you need to come back. Like, the business will figure itself out. And there's like certain points where it's like, yeah, it's business. Yeah, it's business. You know what? Business is people. Like, you don't get to run a business without people. And I think we just like are reaching these like weird points where employer branding and these culture messages have got so out of control that people don't even realize, like, it doesn't matter what you say on your website, doesn't matter what you say on your career page.
Exactly.
It matters like what you actually do. And it's like, if you don't treat people like humans, that's fine. Just say that then. But it's like, I just think there's dissonance between employer branding, what people say in career pages, and then what people do. It's just becoming more and more apparent. So I think, again, like, I think it's a common sense thing. Just like so many of the issues that we talk about, it's like, if you actually care about people, you're going to try and do what's right by them and not what's right just purely by the business. But then even going a step further, like, why would someone who's had a loss like that's not going to come in and do like the best work? Like, how can you? So, you're better to look out for the person, look out for the long-term relationship as the employee, and ultimately that will help your business, because your other employees are going to see that, right, as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what the heck? Like, you only gave a week?
I don't want to be here. Yeah.
Exactly. So just common sense to me.
To give additional context, that person has been working at a company for 15 years. And this is where policy manuals, it's bullshit, like, right?
So irrelevant.
It's irrelevant in this particular situation, in my mind, because I think you nailed it, Joel. When we talk about employer brand, that's not graphics on your career site. It's the actual reality of working there. Everyone has an employer brand. And these are the type of stories that I feel are just not right, because in reality, okay, you can have a policy, but flexibility is the key. You've got to react to the moment of the impact of this happening. It's so heartbreaking. And I can't imagine with 2 daughters, if my partner, if something ever happened, there's no way I could work after a week. And the same, I've been in that situation, Danielle, as far as I've lost 3 pets in the last 5 years.
Aw.
And it screwed up a lot of days, right? Like it took me a while to recover because they do become, I'm not trying to correlate both, but I think there needs to be flexibility. That's what HR is there. We're the human resource department.
Well, there also needs to be consistency.
Yeah.
And like that's a really important word here, because like Joel said, it's easier than ever to find stories of companies mistreating people. And it's easier than ever to collect those stories and get a fuller understanding and picture. I like to call it cultural investigation. Using AI to collect those stories across the internet, wherever they might be, easier than ever. So the wider your gap is between what you say your company is and what people say your company is and how they treat people, the worse off you're going to be, right? That's really that's what employer branding, that's like the difference between real employer branding and fake employer branding is. And that stuff is what young people are trained from their earliest days to do, is to weed out the BS.
Yeah. So guys, sorry to bring the mood down, but that's the HR weather. Appreciate you guys having this conversation.
Yeah.
See you
Thanks,
next
Serge.
All right. Well, I don't know how I fire people up to bring this to a conclusion, considering the sobering message that we had. But I just want to thank Danielle and Joel for making me a part, letting me be part of the conversations that we had today, and always being a part of the HR morning show. Thank you for letting me be part of the family.
Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Love you.
You're the best.
Yeah, always good to have you a part of the show. And we want to give a special shout out to Talent Tech PR, Mr. Evan White behind the scenes as well, bringing us together at Purple Acorn, but just doing so much for the industry. And if you haven't worked with Evan, if you haven't seen what he brings in terms of creative edge and bringing people together, highly advise checking out Talent Tech PR. It's more than red shoes. It's more than just kind of creative get-togethers. There's just so much that Evan brings to the industry. Genuinely one of the best people I know, and I couldn't recommend his service enough, and the whole Talent Tech PR team as well. Shout out to Alan behind the scenes producing this show, and shout out to Evan White as well. And Brian, thanks so much again, man, for joining. It's always good to have you on the show. And Danielle, yeah, it's been okay.
They're gonna say it's been a minute. I missed you, girl.
It has been a minute, and I have missed you. But we'll be back, the HR Morning Show will be back next week with some more great guests, more great content. Remember to check out purpleacornnetwork.com. Go check out all the podcasts. Go follow us on LinkedIn. You know what to do, and that is a wrap.
Joel, real quick. I know you're going to wrap, but I got an idea.
Yeah.
Could we have a show next week about predictions for 2026?
I know you have to talk to Talent Tech PR about that one.
Okay, all right. I'm shutting up. Thank you.
We did a prediction show last year. It was great.
All right, guys. We'll talk
soon.
All
right. Have a good week. Bye.
All right, you too. Bye.